I can make some statements already, but I'm trying real hard to watch it as just a series
Uh-huh.
and not compare it to the book because I know it's not going to be like the book.
Right.
But man, I don't know.
Oh,
That-
no, that's exactly what I wanted though, was the difference between, I mean, I've seen all 3 seasons so far, well, up to whatever they've released so far for the third season. And I have not read the books or anything. Maybe the first chapter of the first book, but yeah, I don't know anything about the books really. So I'm judging it more so on its just merits as a TV show. And there are definitely things that I like, and then a lot of things that I don't. Um, but as far as like the first episode goes, yeah, I guess what were your general thoughts?
I think the first and biggest one is I really hate what they've done with Matt. Um,
Matt, it's funny you say that because so I don't know the background information, but in later seasons, it's a different actor who ends up playing Matt, who's more insufferable. Matt's incredibly insufferable throughout the entire series. I think the actor who's playing Matt in this one, I like a lot more, but he becomes a real annoying pain in the ass just all throughout. So it's kind of funny you say that. What was Matt supposed to be like in the books?
Matt was he was a prankster. He was he was definitely that pain in the ass kid in a lot of ways. And that's the other thing. They were all kids in the book. I'm talking about mid to late teens, not early 20s and whatnot. But uh, he wasn't a thief. You know,
Mm.
this character, they've already got him stealing bracelets and selling it off to Pad and Fane, and just doing some other stuff that it wasn't really in his character in the book.
That's
And
what I mean. We'll get more into it later, but that's yeah. The way he's portrayed throughout the series is he's just a general screw up who never seems to get much right. Always seems very selfish in the way he does a lot of stuff. Now, granted, in the he saves his sisters and things like that, and I don't know what his home life is like in the books or anything, but in this, obviously he's not doesn't get along with his mother and stepfather, maybe, or father. I don't know. Seems like one or both of them are drunks and also screw ups.
yeah, and that wasn't really in the book. Uh,
Something interesting. I want to get more on your thoughts on things, but it was something interesting in the general trivia that came up that really I was not aware of because they don't make it. They don't mention it at all throughout the 3 seasons I've seen, and that has to do with the horse. Uh, let me see if I can find it here.
Bella,
We can pull it. Yeah, Bella the horse, which
yeah,
is what Rand's
yeah.
Rand and his father's horse.
Nah, well, maybe she was. I know that Egwene wound up riding her.
Because
I
so
thought,
I feel like it was Bella because isn't I think Bella's the one pulling the cart here with Rand and his dad. Trying to see if I can find that bonus content where they're talking about it. But it was saying how Bella was like a major character in the book or something, and how she was thought to be like omnipotent or something like that. Which
no, in the first book, she was like Egwene's beloved horse, and because she was old when they were fleeing the what is it, the Two Rivers,
yeah,
Three Rivers, anyway, when they were fleeing their home, everyone was afraid she wasn't going to make it because she was old, and she wound up, keeping up just fine and whatnot. And it was later revealed that that was Egwene's innate power, kind of giving the horse its necessary energy.
oh, So I'll read this if you can't see it. It says it's talking about this scene right here where Rand and his dad are walking into town. It says this is the first scene in the first chapter of book 1 in the Wheel of Time series. The horse Bella is an iconic part of the story. Many who read the books believe she is an omnipotent being with creator-like tendencies. In the two rivers, wool and tobacco are the main exports. Their tabac is known all over as the best in the world. So, yeah, I mean, other than this one scene, really with Bella, I don't think we ever. I don't even think they mentioned Bella's name, maybe in the whole thing. But okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know where they get that omnipotent stuff. I mean, granted, I read that book probably in the first year or two after it was published, that first one, but I
When
don't
was
know,
that? This 80s, 70s, 80s?
80s or 90s, wasn't it? No, it had to be the 90s.
Oh, I thought this series was a lot older than that.
Uh,
Okay. Well, anyway, what else did you get from the show?
okay. All right. Remember in the fight with the Trollocs, Moraine takes a big knife or a hatchet or something to the shoulder,
Yeah.
and then there's no blood, and later on there's no tear in her jacket. Thought that was, you know,
Yeah, I think so. They
that,
talk about that with the healing stuff where I don't think the Aes Sedai can heal themselves. They can only heal others. And even then, some are way better at healing than others.
right. But I don't think it's going to mend their jacket,
Well,
or stop
right.
the
I don't
blood.
even know. I'm trying to remember if I can find that scene.
And of course, Perrin wasn't married. And in the book, he didn't kill his wife because, well, he didn't have a wife to kill. Uh, Nynaeve was not captured by the Trollocs in the book. Uh, I don't remember any of that silliness of pushing her into the river or any of that stuff. In fact, in the book, Egwene had not entered the women's circle. It goes back to them being younger in the books. And of course, in the books, Mat, Perrin, and Rand, all had that typical teenage angst regarding females. And, all thought that the other two guys knew way more about girls than they themselves did. And
Right.
then in this one, you've got Perrin already married, and you've got uh, Rand having sexual congress with Egwene. So,
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how
and
much as the seasons go on, how much that plays a role in the reasoning as to why they did some of this. I don't know. But I do, and this is where again, I'm not a huge fan of from someone who hasn't read the books, it doesn't really matter. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the portrayal of things in this series and what they do. It seems like it's more modern audience trope nonsense that they've done. However, I'm still watching it and enjoying it for a lot of other reasons, in particular, like how did you like how they portrayed the Trollocs, for example?
they weren't so bad, although I noticed all of these seem to have horns. I didn't see any of them that didn't have horns. In the books, they were a mishmash of different creatures. They seem to be more varied than what they have in here. I've seen a little bit of variance in here, like one that was definitely more wolf-like and one that was definitely more pig-like. But all in all, they all seem to have those Pan, the god Pan horns and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So yeah, they're okay, I suppose. I
Yeah,
did
see, I
not
thought
see
they
the
did a.
Midril.
You didn't see the what?
The Midril.
What are the
Supposedly,
Midril?
a Midril is what they call a faceless man, and he's next up on the hierarchy of bad guys.
Isn't that what they used? Isn't that what was on the horse that they saw, like the one controlling the Trollocs?
Oh, maybe it was. I didn't notice him.
Um, there was a couple of scenes with it. Maybe I can find it. But I really liked how they did the Trollocs. For one, they're not CGI crapoids that have just destroyed a lot of movies and TV shows now. It looks like they used a lot of practical effects along with, some CGI type stuff. And I really liked, I wish they'd do some werewolf type stuff with the way the one that fought Rand's dad. I wish
Right.
they do something that looked a bit like him. And yeah, I definitely saw like the piggy like one. Man, I wish I could find that scene.
See, and in the books, they had ones that kind of looked like goats and one that had eagle faces and stuff like that.
Right.
Now, here's something else I'm going to comment on is I understand in the books that, in Asia, you have the Chinese, you have the Vietnamese, you have the Myanmarans now, I guess they were Burmese or Siamese way back, and the Japanese. And in Europe, you had the Polish, you had the German, you had the Swedes, you had this and that. And the same with Africa. You had different groups in different parts of the continent. And I understand that in this one, they have the primary continent, right, where this story is taking place, and they have sections that are kind of more along racial lines. So like, what is it? I'm trying to think. The Domani are kind of like Middle Eastern, whereas the uh, Chaldeans or something else, and the this, that, and the other. Anyway, I understand that, and that's cool. What I want to know is these two river people are supposed to be Manetheren, and while I think it's cool in a lot of ways that they have a very varied cast, I think that they did that more for, I don't know, virtue
Modern
signaling or to
times.
show that they
Yeah,
work or whatever. Yeah, because
that's what
there's
it
no
is. Yeah.
explanation of why this group that's supposed to have been huddled in the mountain and insulated for so long has such a wide variance.
Yeah, and it's definitely a modern thing. And this is one of the problems with modern storytelling or takes on, already established things, is that it becomes confusing, right? Like, so for the Aes Sedai, you could do it pretty easily because it doesn't really matter. If I see their colors, I know that they're an Aes Sedai, and I would know, which ones they belong to. So you could get away with it a little bit more, right? But this is where it becomes really difficult, because I should be able to just, by seeing somebody. So I think Rand, for example, right? He's a ginger. He's got the red hair or whatever, because I guess his peoples or whatever are that correct? Like
Yeah,
that's one of
because
their establishing
he
traits.
is. Yeah. He's a descendant of the Aiel, and they're known to be tall and redheaded.
Right. Well, you'll come to find an interesting thing that they did with casting whenever it comes to the Aiel later on. I won't spoil it for you, and you can discuss it then. But right, like that's a defining feature. You'd be able to figure out, oh, this is that person because of that. And they screw this up a lot. Game of Thrones did it okay for the most part, right? You were able to tell where folks were from, based more so on what they look like and the garb that they wore. But then they start doing, essentially modern day diversity casting, which isn't to say that the actors themselves don't portray and act well, but it does screw up. It's like, okay, how did this happen? How do you have this mixture of folks, in this, like you said, insulated town, or this part of the region or that part of the region? And it becomes kind of annoying later on, not just in this show but in others, where I don't know what allegiance you have, because I can't tell. It's modern day London as opposed to whatever it's actually supposed to be.
All right.
I think I
Yeah.
found that the scene with the that character
The
of the
Nigel?
faceless one. Yeah.
I remember the horse. I don't remember this.
Well, I think that's where I think Lan refers to him as that too. I could be wrong, and I don't know where to find that particular scene when he talks about it. But I'm pretty sure that's what
did.
that was supposed to be. And we see him a
Okay,
few more
I
times.
must
He
have
always
just
seems
missed
to be in
that.
control of the Trollocs. And Faden
Yeah,
Payne, this character, what more do you know about him? Because he seems to be like a shady fellow.
yeah. Well, Paddon Fane has a weird story arc in the book. He really was a peddler and whatnot, but apparently he was a dark friend. So he's been aligned with the bad guys from the
That
beginning,
makes
and
sense. Because he didn't seem afraid of when the Trollocs were there.
right. Well, I think that he was. I think it's later revealed. Like I said, man, it's been so many years since I read those books, but I think it was later revealed that he was instrumental in leading the Trollocs there. That's to that particular village, and but see, he gets messed up in the book because he winds up being corrupted even further by Shadow Logarth, which is where Matt gets that dagger.
Okay, that does happen here, and I think in the next episode or two.
Right,
Well,
and
maybe next 3 or 4.
a secondary kind of evil, but it just apparently messes him all up, and
Messes Matt up.
well, it messes Matt up with the dagger, but no, Paddon Fane as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and later on he wound up, like for instance in the book, Lan was a prince or would be a king, except his particular country was swallowed by the blight. It was wiped out, and uh, when they go up there into those neighboring countries, uh, somehow Paddon Fane had showed up there as well, because I guess he was tracking Rand and Perrin and the others.
Okay, yeah, a little bit of Lan's background and being king and stuff comes up in later seasons. So that
And
makes sense.
Moiraine's supposed to be tiny, right? And so she should be much smaller than Lan. Lan should be bigger. She should be tinier. It just with the books. And where's her blue shawl?
She's wearing so maybe it's, I don't know, maybe your vision's going out. She appears to be wearing blue throughout the whole thing.
Oh,
It's a
really? It
dark
must be
blue.
like a navy blue.
Yeah, it's dark, but it's 100% blue.
Oh, okay. Well,
Like
sitting
yeah, I
here in
mean
my
here's a
living room with the lights off, watching it, look like she was wearing a black
it is
jacket.
dark because yeah, I mean this right here, this is definitely, that's all blue right there.
Oh, okay.
Again,
Looks
it's
black to me.
dark,
So,
but yeah.
and let's see, was there? Oh, yeah. One of the other big things is that in the movie when they were walking along, Rand's got his bow and arrow, right?
Yeah.
In the book, one of the big things that they carried were exactly what people carried back in ancient times: big sticks, big quarterstaffs,
Right.
and that actually plays a huge part in the book because Matt is actually quite good with quarterstaffs.
They funny you say that because I was going to bring it up. So they do allude to that later on, way later on in the most recent, in this 3rd season. Matt ends up fighting, doing some dueling, and he whoops some ass with his quarterstaff.
Yeah,
But
he whoops the
up until
waters.
then, it never showed. What'd you say?
Did he whoop the waters?
They no, not the warders. It was the princess's brothers. The princess to one of the queen. I don't know off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and
They're there
they
at the
were
White Tower.
training to be warders. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, and they were both pretty good with
yeah.
swords. It would appear. And see, like there was even a scene here with the. I liked this scene, but it's a little ruined for me because of again modern stuff. They do it so much; it's hard to tell if it was a just a genuinely fun type of scene or they threw it in there because the whole women empowerment girl boss crap. But it was the town's women all coming together and
Oh
beating the
yeah,
hell
when they
out
all
of.
go, yeah, when they jump that
Yeah,
Trolloc, I like that.
yeah, I liked it. And it sucks though that again it kind of gets detracted from because they do so much of it. And that's why, like, what the heck is your interpretation of the there during the women's circle thing? Women are always alone and never alone. What the hell does that mean?
Who
I mean,
knows?
like, it's such a bizarre thing. Like, it sounds like one of those things where you're trying to act profound or sound profound, and it means literally nothing. Like, that is the most.
I think that's exactly what that is. It's
Yeah,
one of those generated, sound profound but say nothing.
yeah. It was. I was like, what the
Uh,
hell is that supposed to
and that
mean?
wasn't in the book.
Yeah, I couldn't
And
imagine that it was. It makes no sense. Oh, it was interesting. So tell me about this because I was reading the general trivia stuff, and actually sounds pretty fascinating because right off the bat, the opening scene and they're chasing down the guy. But this kind of explained it a bit more for me. So what it says in here is that in his age, the dragon was a man with immense power, a champion for humanity, and one of the generals in the war against the Shadow. In his desperation to end the war, the dragon led 100 companions in an attempt to seal the Dark One in its prison. In a moment, but they did so without the help of their female counterparts. And in a moment of victory, the Dark One struck at the very heart of the energy source men were wielding during the battle, instantly driving the male companions insane and ushering in the time of madness. And so this explains why men no longer can wield the power without going insane, so on and so forth. So that sounds pretty accurate. But it's interesting because what in that opening scene, Leandrin, I think, is the Red Aja, right? And she's talking about how the power is only for women. I don't know how long is supposed to have passed whenever all this happened, but it sounds like not only were men once capable of wielding it, but again the dragon was also the most powerful one to have existed who could wield it.
I
It just
believe the
seems strange
dragon's
to me
name.
that.
And go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just saying it seems strange to me how these Aes Sedai seem to behave. And again, maybe it's because so much time has passed, but men were once perfectly capable of wielding it. And in fact, it sounds like it was an important thing for men and women to wield it together.
It was. They did, and it was. Men and women both wielded it. It was Sadin and Sadar, I think, which is the two halves of the yin yang circle,
Right.
and the
Oh, yeah,
white
that says right
flame
there.
is one half of it. And I believe that the dragon was Luz Theron. I may be misremembering his
That
name, but
sounds correct because that name comes up. Although, see, this is where I was confused when watching the show, and maybe it's just on my part, but it always seemed like they alluded that the Dark One was also the dragon, as if they were one and the same. That the man with all the power, the dragon, somehow became corrupted or something like that, and he's kind of what caused it. But when reading this, it sounds like the Dark One was its own person, entity, what have you, and then the dragon was this immense power wielding male, and died
yes,
during the sealing of the Dark One.
that is
Okay,
correct.
so
The
and
dark
it
one
says, yeah,
is
you're correct with the Sidene, I think is how you pronounce it. The mission to seal the Dark One back in its prison, though successful, was costlier than anyone could have imagined. Men who attempted to wield Sidene, the male half of the magic energy, also called the One Power, quickly discovered a corruption at its source. Any man with the ability to channel this power is destined to go mad. This was the devastating legacy the Dark One left on the world.
Yeah, and they call it that half of the yin yang symbol the dragon's fang.
Okay.
So
Now, why
the
would
woman,
this? I'm confused. Why would the Dragon Reborn, this prophecy that Moraine is going after, why would the Dragon Reborn be possible to be a woman or a man? Why not? Why wouldn't it just be the man?
I don't really recall that from the book.
So that may just be a made up part, possibly, because that's
Right. Yeah.
what she says in the show, and that's why she gathers basically all the friends up: Egwene, Nynaeve, Perrin, Matt, and
Right.
Rand.
Well, I mean, in the book, she gathered them all up. Well, actually, she didn't want to gather Nynaeve. She left Nynaeve there. Nynaeve wound up just following them. And that's how she first impressed Lan, was the fact that she was able to follow and track them, and he didn't know it.
Oh,
But
you'll be
she,
pleasantly surprised. That happens in the next episode. That is how Nynaeve joins.
okay, so she took the Matt, Perrin, and Rand because she didn't know which one of them was the Dragon Reborn. And remember, I mean, if you think about it, it has to be a guy. Otherwise, why would there be a fear of them going mad? Right? If they're reborn a woman, then she can use the female half of the power, and there's no issue. She took Egwene because she showed signs of having the ability to channel, and
Okay.
that's why Egwene left. And that very beginning scene where the Red Aja are chasing that guy down,
Mm-hmm.
that thing that he said about when I noted that, and I thought it was a poorly delivered line, but now after talking to you, maybe they actually meant to say that, but no,
Oh,
it
I'm sure
wasn't.
they did. It's this is you'll see. I'm sure you'll have a lot of gripes with a lot of stuff because again, having not read the books, it's a little grating with the amount of female boss power type stuff because it just seems so out of whack, the amount of it, that I've even looked up, occasional things. I'll be like, dude, did this really happen? Or is this really a thing? It's like, no, it's not. Um, and just the sheer amount of uh, homosexuality in this show is kind of mind boggling. It's amazing that the world's populated given how many people are gay, it would seem, or, attracted to the opposite sex and all that. I'm like, man, this is kind of crazy. There's so many people around. Doesn't seem possible. But
Well, I noticed that they introduced the children. I mean, they introduced a lot of stuff that didn't happen until way later in the book, right in this first one, including the Children of the Light, which I always kind of in my head pictured as a cross between the Knights Templar and the Inquisition.
are you? Did they introduce the? Are you sure?
Remember the
Didn't you?
guy eating the bug off the leaf? And then there's a woman, looked like she was all tied up, looked like she had been beaten up.
Were they dressed in all white?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the ones. I don't remember. Was that early on in this episode?
Nope, almost at the end.
Okay, because in the next few, I mean, they definitely get introduced quickly. And that's where, your description, the Knights Templar cross type thing, that's how they're portrayed, is the way I see it, and kind of what they wear, how they go about it. It seems like they're more of a religious cult type of
They
thing.
are. They're a serious nutcase cult.
Yeah. And what's their mission? Because the way it's portrayed is their mission is essentially like it seems they're more so fighting against not only Trollocs and stuff like that, which easily are seen as evil, but even the Aes Sedai and stuff. Like they don't
They are,
like
because they
them.
think that the Aes Sedai are witches,
Okay.
because they
That makes a
control
lot of sense then.
powers that men can't.
Yeah, that makes sense then. Okay.
And
Well,
I mean, the book did a really good job because people they're not black and white. you know. So like some of the Children of Light, you could tell they were trying their best to be decent human beings,
Hmm.
right, in the book. And some of them were just evil pricks and, enjoyed the power. But you had the same thing in the White Tower in the book. You had like
Yeah.
some of the Red Aja were just, hey, screw everybody except the Aes Sedai, and we should be ruling the world. We should be telling them because we have all the power and we have all the knowledge, and some shit like that. So um, I'm going to be interested to see if they can bring that kind of depth out in this series, which it's really hard to
Yeah.
do that.